Tennessee a lot higher in a ranking that matters than you probably think. What's the SP plus for those that don't know, Caleb?
So the SP plus rankings, it's another one of the ESPN analytical rankings. This one is put together by also Bill Connolly. And basically they take returning production, recent recruiting, and recent history into account to determine exactly how good teams are. So it's a very effective model for determining teams and just how good they are going into different years. And, in the past, they've been relatively accurate. We've covered them before. And honestly, they are shockingly in favor of Tennessee. But just so you guys know, last year, the SP Plus rankings, I'm trying to pull it up now, and I'm having a little bit of trouble, but they have...
I can tell because you're pounding your keyboard. The Tennessee...
Last year, they had Tennessee at number 16, and Tennessee definitely overachieved on that. So...
yeah, they did overachieve. Not massively. Where were they? Probably 8-ish.
Well, last year they were 16th in the SP Plus rankings, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was 9th in the SEC. So the SEC was much more loaded in the SP Plus rankings last year than it is this year, which we're going to get to.
Okay, so they're number 8 this year. I don't think they're necessarily the 8th best team in the nation right now. Do you?
I think it's possible. But I'm not sure.
Thank you, Travis. Rudolph Hooker.
So here's the SP.
It looks like a hooker nipple. Sorry, go ahead.
The SP Plus rankings, they are 4th in the SEC. So number 2, the highest ranked SEC team is Alabama at number 2. Georgia is number 4. Texas is number 7, and Tennessee is number 8. So just behind Tennessee is Ole Miss at number 9, and then LSU at number 10, Texas A&M at number 11, and Missouri at number 15. I'm sorry, Texas A&M at number 12 and Missouri at number 15. That's the top 15. South Carolina 16th, Florida 17th, Oklahoma's 20th, and Auburn's 23rd. That rounds up the top 25 for the SEC. As far as like different rankings, Tennessee's offensive SP Plus is number 22. Their defensive SP Plus, though, is number 4. And their special teams SP Plus is number 21. Now, caveat. This factors in Jamron McCoy returning, and obviously Jamron McCoy is hurt, and they're not taking that into account.
Well, but he wouldn't drop them a whole point, would he? I mean, they wouldn't be 9th without him, would they?
We don't know how hurt he is, though. I mean, Tennessee right now is their SP Plus score is 21.3, and they're ahead of Ole Miss at 20.2. So there is a gap between them and Ole Miss, probably a bigger one between them and Texas, who's ahead of them. So I will agree with you on that I don't think they'd fall below Ole Miss, but the real point is this is a shockingly high number for the SP Plus rankings, like a shockingly high number, honestly.
Where would you have projected them?
I would have projected them in the 15 to 20 range, honestly. And so I'm kind of really shocked that they're where they are. I would have projected they would be in the 15 to 20 range because they lost so much talent on the offensive side. I mean, we just did a whole breakdown recently on returning production that Bill Connolly did, and Tennessee got wrecked on the offensive side. So just with that alone, I'd have thought they'd at least be in the 15 to 20 range, even with the returning talent on defense.
Yep, agreed. Click that like and subscribe button if you don't mind. Again, click that thumbs up button. We greatly appreciate that. Caleb, this would speak to what I believe has been Tennessee's plan, and that is to retain their players as opposed to going out and spending money on them. Tennessee with 4 transfers as opposed to like a dozen this time last year. So, I mean, that means that Josh Heupel's doing in the offseason what he planned to do, right?
It does. It also speaks to because this tracks the combination of recruiting and transfers and who you still have in the system. It speaks to Tennessee's recruiting success that's been underrated, actually, in recent years. We've been talking about the transfer portal and recruiting out of high school. They're actually not recruiting poorly out of high school when you consider the talent they're retaining.
Well, maybe, but wouldn't you want your guys to have an opportunity to go pro after 3 years?
Well, think about it this way. Would you rather have the number 12 class and retain 75% of your players year to year? I'm not saying that's how many Tennessee's retained, but let me just say you have the number 12 class and you're retaining 75% of your players year to year. or have the number 4 class, but you only retain 40% of your players year to year?
I guess the previous one, not the latter, but the other.
Yeah, we're not thinking about the concept of retaining talent, keeping it out of the transfer portal, not just not losing it to the NFL. And that's something that we really got to start focusing on. And I think Tennessee does a good job of retaining key talent for the most part, which is a real big deal.
All right. Let's get to this comment because we love comments like this. Daniel says, love the show, guys. VFL from Big Stone Gap, Virginia. I'm about 2 hours northeast of Knoxville. Love where we are as an athletic department, guys. Who's better right now? As an overall athletic department, we'll get a little sidetracked here for a second. Or is that another topic for Monday? How many athletic departments as a whole are more successful right now than Tennessee? Alabama comes to mind with Nate Oates, but I don't really know what they're doing in terms of women's basketball. Obviously,
Yeah, that's definitely a topic for another day. Let's stick on this real quick. I want to go down the list of the SP Plus and see. Let's go down the people who use on. Let's just go down Tennessee's schedule real quick and see what you think this holds up, Dave. So, Alabama's number 2. Tennessee visits Alabama. That's kind of a concern for them, right?
Yes.
And by the way, aren't we kind of underrating the leap we expect Alabama to take with another year under Caleb DeBoer because their first year head coaching pains are not there?
I don't know about leap, but I think they'll take a step. How about that?
Okay. Georgia's number 4. Now, Georgia number 4 going to Tennessee at number 8. That should mean that Tennessee should have a very legitimate chance. If Tennessee's not in that game, that's a big concern for the program, right? If they're not competing in that game.
If they're not within 10 points and in it in the fourth quarter, I think Tennessee fans have a right to be concerned. This is year number 5. You should compete with Kirby Smart or anybody else that is in your way for a championship. It's time.
Especially in Knoxville.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so they don't play Ole Miss or LSU, who's just behind them. They don't play Texas A&M. They don't play Missouri. They don't play South Carolina, which is good. So they avoid a lot of these teams. But then Florida, number 17, they visit Florida. This is what I've been talking to you about. You don't think Florida's that much of a threat? I do, honestly. Just because of Tennessee's history in Gainesville.
No, I don't. Well, Tennessee's history in Gainesville, that changes things, obviously. But I don't know. The Florida game's so difficult. Don't you go into every year thinking, or at least most years, now I'm not going to say the 90s necessarily, but don't you think that Tennessee has had a legitimate shot in many of their games against Florida, but they just haven't shown up?
2013, 2015, and 2017, they should have won all 3 of those games. The only reason they didn't win in 2015 and 2017 in Gainesville was because while Jim McElwain was stupid, Butch Jones managed to be stupider. And it was straight up the movie Dumb and Dumber and those 2 coaches going at each other. So I agree, but not since 2017 have I seen Tennessee play a game in Gainesville where I really thought they should have won. Now, 2023, I thought going into the game, they should have won, but it wasn't like they were in the game when they played. So that's kind of an issue. A few more going down the list. So Arkansas's number 35, but they go to Knoxville. I am telling you, and I think Dave is telling you, guys, there is a 100% chance Tennessee beats Arkansas and beats them handily.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yep. Kentucky number 40, Tennessee goes to Kentucky. They're going to beat Kentucky, even though Kentucky's 40, because guess what, guys? It's Kentucky. So,
Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky's Kentucky. Vanderbilt is number 54. Vanderbilt goes to Knoxville. Again, a virtual guarantee. Tennessee's going to beat Vanderbilt. Mississippi State down at number 65. Tennessee is going to beat Mississippi State. The only other one, I forgot this one, Oklahoma at number 20. Oklahoma at number 20 going to Knoxville. I think Tennessee should win that game, though, don't you? Even though Tennessee beat Oklahoma last year?
Yeah, I think they should win that game. I think Oklahoma takes a step back because I don't believe in their head coach.
I don't either. And it's funny. Josh Heupel hired Seth Littrell. I was critical of the Seth Littrell hire as an analyst, but I think Seth Littrell's poor offense last year at Oklahoma had much more to do with the situation he was in at Oklahoma than it had to do with his offensive acumen himself.
All right. Any other notes on the SP ratings before we move on?
Syracuse is down at number 57. Tennessee opens the year against them. So look, Tennessee, if you look at these SP ratings, they have a path to 11-1 because there's only one team above them that they play on the road, and that would be Alabama. But they they get a huge break avoiding Ole Miss, LSU, Texas A&M, Missouri, and South Carolina. To avoid all 5 of those teams is a huge deal, but they do play the top 2, and they do play Florida and Oklahoma. So I think overall Tennessee should be this is a very good sign for Tennessee going forward that they're number 8.